Hi, everybody. This is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. It is Wednesday, December 18th, and I'm making a video today to talk about the programs that I am offering in 2020, which are available right now until December 31st through my Kickstarter at 50% off. So I'm making this video because it's a really great sale. It's a really great way to save some money on all of my programs. And yet I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying, could you make a video talking more about what I will get out of your program? You know, what your program is all about, when it starts, etc. So this video today is meant to tell you about the study and practice of Hellenistic astrology and the one-year course. In this video, I'm going to talk about the first-year course that I teach. I'm going to do a separate video for my second year and a separate video for my horary because they're all on sale. So I'll do one for each. In this video, and you'll find the link to the Kickstarter in the comments section of this post, as well as the video description. Click on the link to the Kickstarter. You'll see that you can bundle any of my programs. You can take the first year course and it's $900. The early bird is $12.99 and the regular course price is $1,800. So you pick it up through the Kickstarter, it's essentially 50% off and $400 off the early bird rate. Whereas after the new year, you know, those standard prices will be in effect. So the first year program that I teach is called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. And it is a course designed to teach people about ancient Greco-Roman, or what we call Hellenistic astrology, which has much in common with Indian astrology, and also has its roots in prior forms of astral omen divination from Babylon and Egypt and things like that. Our modern astrology comes down the stream from that form of astrology. The main way that I would describe the difference is that ancient astrology is more predictive in nature and is more of a kind of karmic analytics. That's the phrase I often use. It's a way of looking at the birth chart as the signatures of your karma or the fated kinds of events and themes that are going to happen. Whereas in modern astrology, we tend to look at the birth chart more like the makeup or constitution of one's psychology and behavior, one's mind, or one's ways of relating to others. But neither is right or wrong, right? Paired together, they make a really good team. So this course is called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. But what we're trying to do in this course is teach you the more classical, technical science of astrology, which is a bit more of a science. Like modern astrology, in some ways, it's a bit more of an interpretive art form. It has more of a psychological therapeutic use and effect, which is great. Maybe evolutionary astrology in modern sense is a little bit more of a karmic analytics, but it's still largely behavioral and psychological in nature. Ancient astrology is a practice that is more about saying, you know, this kind of karma surrounds your sibling, these kinds of events and experiences surround money, spouse, career, religion, etc. And again, my experience is that when people learn ancient astrology for the first time, it complements everything they've already known. If you've studied modern astrology a bit, or if you've been into astrology already, it will complement everything that you already know. At the same time, if you're brand new to astrology, it's a great place to start because you're basically starting from the ground up. So this course is built to train you in Hellenistic astrology, ancient astrology, over the course of a year. I also offer a second year program, so some people go the full distance with it. And I also offer a horary course, which is a sort of a separate form of astrology. And I'm doing separate videos on those two courses. You can watch for those. The first year course, I teach twice a year. It starts every June and every November. In June, in 2020, it will meet on Sundays at noon Eastern time every week. And there's 30 classes in a year that are each 2 to 3 hours apiece. These meet on live webinars, and if you can't attend them because of a job or a time zone conflict, you can participate remotely by watching the webinar recordings, which are placed into a Dropbox every week for you. There's a class folder that's online. You can download everything from it and keep it and work through the material at your own pace if you prefer, or if you can't make it live. So 30 classes in the year. Plus, there are 12 guest lecturers that come in through my seasonal speaker series, which I host and open to the public. And all of those lectures are made available for my students in the Dropbox as well. You don't have to attend them live. You can if you want. So there's 42 classes on the year. The 30 classes on the year work through a structured curriculum. There's a syllabus, and we work through it one step at a time. And I'm going to show you what that syllabus is in a minute. The basic gist of the course is to start off with history and philosophy, understand the history of ancient astrology, understand the astral omen and sort of shamanic practices from which it was born, just loosely speaking, and then understanding the core philosophical and spiritual beliefs that ancient astrologers in the East and the West shared, and the core astronomy from which the entire metaphysical framework of astrology emerges. And then we gradually start working into the metaphysics behind the planets down to the practical symbolism of the planets. Do the same thing for the signs, the houses, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, and then topical and universal theories of delineation and reading the karma of a chart. And then at the very end of the class, the last 10 lectures are a combination of live clients coming in that you will see me read for in a one-on-one setting with no participation from anyone in the class. Everyone's just observing me read for someone like it's a live session like it was from my private client practice. And then after the client leaves, we break down that reading together technically, philosophically, from a counseling and psychology standpoint, the whole thing. By the end, in other words, what we're doing is figuring out how to implement this karmic analytics into a counseling style astrology reading in our day and age, right? So how do we bring this around to our moment in history and make it relevant for people and what they're going through? So that, and then interspersed with reading live clients charts, we also have chart practice as a group where I bring in charts to class and we analyze them and work the techniques and theories that we've been learning. So that's the first year program. And then we have 12 guest speakers coming in talking on a variety of fun subjects that are kind of interspersed. Through this process, we go through the following topics. I'm going to, first of all, I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see this. Let's see if I can. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see what the Dropbox folder is for one of my current classes. Okay, so here's the Dropbox folder for one of my current classes. In the Dropbox folder, which is available to you online, like I said, you can download everything, 30 lessons on the year. One of my current classes is about 17 lessons into their 30. You'll see that there at the very beginning, there is called Lesson 0, a special lecture for total beginners. And that's a course, basically like a remedial content if you're totally brand new and you're green, you don't know anything. Then we move through, methodically all of the curriculum. The curriculum is also listed in the course overview. So you get a course syllabus at the beginning. I'm going to open that now and show it to you. And in the course syllabus, you're going to see some of the basic goals of the course and then the actual syllabus material that we work through. So in the beginning, we work through a brief history of Western astrology, the astronomical and metaphysical foundations of ancient astrology. Then we look at the traditional metaphysics, meanings, symbolism, and use of the planets in a 3-part series. We go through a 3-part series on the 12 zodiac, the traditional name for the signs, 3 series on the places, 3-part series on the aspects, 2-part series on essential dignities, 3-part series on accidental dignities, and then we have a 2-part series on universal and topical significators, which is a way of saying ways of reading the chart in terms of the big picture of your life and ways of reading the chart in terms of small stuff like money or spouse or kids or pregnancy and things like that. So, and then we move in, as you can see, around lesson 20, we start working into live client readings and workshops, which means we're doing nothing but playing with charts at this point. And at the very end, we have the business practice and lifestyle of the professional astrologer as a final class. So that's year 1. And remember that interspersed throughout there are 12 guest speakers that come in and talk on a range of subjects. These are astrologers from the professional industry. They're speaking on a variety of topics. Those get put into your guest lectures and general bonus material Dropbox. So you get to see the replays of those, which are not available to the public after the talks are given. And then each talk itself, for example, you'll have a Dropbox folder. So this is lesson 1, A Brief History of Western Astrology. In that folder, you're going to see the PowerPoint with the lecture notes from that lesson there for you to keep and open and work with. So here's an example of it. And then you're going to see the actual audio video recording. This one was about 2 hours and 40-minute long class. And you get to rewatch that, download it, keep it. And then you'll see lesson 1 homework and bonus material. And in that folder, you're going to find a bunch of different material. I have, for example, in some classes, there's some really good astrology podcast episodes from Chris Brennan online that I refer you to. There are some really good videos on YouTube where essentially you can tap into what's available for free online already. And I'm kind of pointing you to that as your reference, saying, here's some more on what we talked about in class today. Here's where you can check it out. And then there's also going to be reading assignments. So we have a couple of core textbooks in the class. And then a variety of secondary resources that I say, if you want, you could also read this, this, or this. And every week you're going to get those optional reading assignments from a couple of primary source books that we use, and then a bunch of secondary source books. And basically, you could have as much as 15 pages of reading per lesson, up to a couple hundred. And then which is totally up to you. I try to create enough homework so that there's a lot for people who want a lot, but people who don't really like doing a whole bunch of extra busy work have maybe a couple of core passages that they could read, or a PDF article, or even a video to watch, or something like that, if they feel like going that extra step. Everyone's interest in astrology is happening at a different level. So the class is built to basically, you could take the class, my classes that I teach, and the PowerPoint notes, and you'd be fine. But there's that extra step there for people who just really want to go deeply into the material and absorb it at a deeper level. So, you can go as far with it as you want. There's an optional quiz every week with the answer key for you to check your own work, basically helping you integrate and retain the material from the lecture. Optional. There's a Facebook group that we have, and all year round, there's questions that I put into the Facebook group, sharing little exercises that you can do and things like that, just sparking conversations with your classmates. In the classroom itself, people are allowed to come on the mic and ask questions. People are in the chat box streaming questions. So that's how the class works. Let's see. Then there's also there's a rolling class schedule that's in the Dropbox. We meet 30 times over the course of a year. Sometimes we finish up a little before a year. Obviously, the schedule is usually like a couple of weeks in a row where we meet, and then a week off. And then for holidays, or my travel and lecture schedule at different conferences and events may dictate that I have to take a week off here or there. So we have a year to get these 30 lectures done, which is never a problem. People can email me throughout the year with questions about the material that they're studying at any time, and I, respond and help people with their questions. And yeah, between Facebook, the homework, the bonus material, the replays of all of the classes, there's just a lot of resources for people. So that's what the first year program looks like. Excuse me. Registration so in 2020, my classes start in June on Saturdays. So let me pull up this certification course page now and show you this. So here's the certification course page of my website. If you go to nightlightastrology.com and go to certification courses and scroll down, you'll see first year natal chart certification course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. And our next classes begin starting June 14th on Sundays from 12 to 2 p.m., but sometimes we go to 2:30, sometimes even 3. Not typically, but at any rate, and you'll get some outline of what I've already said on the website as well. You scroll down, you'll see that the 1-year tuition is normally $1,800 with an optional 12-month payment plan. The early bird rate, which will open up in March, is $12.99 if you pay in full before the start of the program in June. And right now, through my Kickstarter, I offer it once a year for the last 40 days of the year. The program is only $900. If you need help with tuition and you're a you need need-based tuition, that's also there. You can check that out. That's not open until March. So, but I do offer need-based tuition, for example, for full-time students, single parents, people who are unemployed, working only part-time, retired, low-income disability, experiencing financial hardship, can't get a full-time job, stuff like that. So if you're someone who's really hurting financially, check back with me in March, because that's when I'll be opening registration for need-based tuition for those who qualify. And I have some scholarships that I give out to people who really, can't do anything, but those are limited as well. Anyway, so like I said, that's the payment scale and how it typically works. So it's with the early, it's $400 off the early bird and 50% off otherwise. So really a good deal. Let's see, what else am I missing? There's a certification test at the end of the class. If you are someone who wants that certificate saying, I went through, acyuta-bhava's Nightlight astrology program, and I passed the final exam for year 1, for year 2, for horary, I offer that for everyone. There's not like formal recognition out in the astrology world where it's like, oh yeah, you have to have a certificate somewhere. Like people just call themselves astrologers and do this stuff. I don't think that's a good idea. I've taken many courses over the years and had many teachers. And it's really important if you're developing your interest in astrology to find teachers that you resonate with, whether that's me or the next person, and really, kind of tune in to their teaching. And, because it's an apprenticeship model, it's always been like that, where there's sort of like, really learning astrology it gets to a point where you're going to start taking in so much information from so many different sources. You're not going to know how to parse through it, figure out what's true, what's not true, what comes from where, why everything is the way that it is. And it's really hard to kind of clearly understand where your own practice or your own expression of astrology is coming from. So that's why it's important to have teachers or programs that you take at some point if you want to go further. It's in a kind of an apprenticeship model in that sense, but it's still, it's good to test yourself and to have some kind of testing. So, I've had that in private apprenticeships myself, in several different formats of private apprenticeship myself in my life. This class, however, does not have to be taken as a certification course. You can take it and not take the certification. So that's just fine as well. It's, at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper, and it's really there for you. I like it when people take the class test at the end, because I think it just helps you to feel like you really accomplished something. There are two types of people who take the class in general. There are people who love astrology, want to go deeper with it. Oftentimes in my demographic, that's either newcomers who are interested and need some structure and guidance, or that's people who've been studying for a while, but would really like to understand the traditional classical roots and may resonate with some element of the way that I teach, or, the way that I express the spiritual side of astrology. Often is one of the reasons that people kind of take my course. I'm more overt about my spiritual practices and stuff like that. And I'm very focused on making sure that ancient astrology is a spiritual form of astrology. So other people that take the class, so some people take it because, they want to learn this form of astrology. They're really passionate about astrology, but some people are total beginners. There's also people who want to take this because they're interested in learning this language for themselves. And then there's people who want to take this class because they're interested in maybe practicing for other people and maybe earning some money from doing it, earning a living of some kind. So either way, the course has been very beloved by many people who've come through it. I've been teaching this course for 10 years now, almost 5 years in the traditional Hellenistic model, but 10 years overall. So hundreds and hundreds of students have come through my programs. Happy to give you some referrals if you want to talk to anybody. You can find, I think there's probably some testimonials on my website somewhere. This class is, I like to think that this is a class that can really change your life. For some people, astrology is a language that is going to help you for the rest of your life to understand yourself and to help you navigate the ups and downs of life. In that sense, it is just as good as being taught nutrition and how to take care of yourself. This is a kind of psychic and spiritual language that is nutritious for the soul. It's really good to know this language and to have this as a map that you can take out and help you with. You don't necessarily have to practice it for other people. If you love it, that's enough. On the other hand, some people have that inclination to want to use this to help other people. And I have many students who have gone on to have part-time, even full-time careers in astrology, sometimes pairing it with other things too. Anyway, so that is, I think, everything you need to know about the class. It is on sale again through my Kickstarter. You find the link below up until December 31st. I'm doing this every 40 days at the end of the year. Like I said, this is when I offer it. So I'd love to see some of you in class. The other program in 2020 begins in November, and that will meet on Saturdays. I don't have the date established yet, but it'll start on Saturdays in November of 2020 and meet at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Same exact situation in terms of how the whole course works, just a different starting date. And you can use this tuition for either of those start dates in 2020 or 2021, because the start dates are the same, June and November of 2021. So that's what I've got. I hope to see some of you in class. I hope this was useful. And my advice for people who have never studied Hellenistic astrology and want a dose of it in advance is to also check out, if you like my work, you know, you'll get some Hellenistic astrology here, quite a bit of it, but you can also get into Chris Brennan's astrology podcast. So his astrology podcast features a lot of really great Hellenistic astrology that you can check out there as well. Otherwise, you can also check out Demetra George's book, and Chris Brennan also has a book. Demetra George's book is called Ancient Astrology. We do readings from that throughout my course. And Chris Brennan's book is called Hellenistic Astrology. Yeah, I feel a debt of gratitude to both of them for really being people who, in many ways, helped me dive in. And especially Robert Schmidt, who was sort of one of the main sort of progenitors of Hellenistic astrology in the modern era. So, all right, that's what I've got for all of you. I hope to see some of you in class soon, and I'll do another video on year 2 and another video on horary, so you can check those out, because you can bundle all 3 of them and use any of those as credits anytime in the future. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye.